W3JOE. What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? We are back for another episode of Cup of Joe with Web3 Joe. That's Web3 Job Ops and Events, your hub, home base, and headquarters for Web3 talent and recruitment. We are here every Wednesday, every Friday at 9:30 a.m. Pacific, 12:30 p.m. Eastern, doing our best to bring on leaders in the space to discuss how you can land your dream job over coffee. I'm Gambler, your host. Love to see some familiar PFPs in here. Shout out Someone Moon. Shout out Miss Min. Shout out anybody listening or recording, any of our friends on YouTube or Spotify. We appreciate you being here. And we're going to go ahead and get started with the conversation. Mr. Deedle, thank you so much for taking some time to join us today. How are you doing? Happy Friday.
What's good? What's good? Much love. Thanks, man. Yeah, still grinding. Very busy, but very blessed.
Busy as long as it's good busy, right?
Oh, 100%, man. We're spreading core season right now.
Beautiful, beautiful. Looking forward to diving into more about how you add value over at Core. Our friends over at Core, we work closely with you guys. Before we do quick announcements, I got a few pinned tweets up top. The first two are the promo tweets for this space. So if you want to show us some love on those, it's always appreciated. The next two are our latest two job postings that we shared on X here. We post job postings every single day. So if that sounds like you or someone you know, tap in. The second most recently pinned post is our Luma invites and RSVP links for our side events for ETH New York next week. So if you're going to be in ETH New York next week, we have an event on Wednesday. We also have an event on Thursday with our partners over at Alpha Ledger Tectonic. And we would love to see you there. So tap in. And without further ado, let's go ahead and get the conversation going. Mr. Deedle, once again, thank you for being here. I know you're a valued member over at Core DAO. You also were previously on the Portal to Bitcoin team, the Say Network team, and the Sentinel P2P team. So I know you got a ton of insight to share on this conversation. Can you give us a little bit of background on
You're showing my age, bro.
Sorry, what was that?
I said you're showing my age. I'm an unk in crypto.
No. Well, look. I feel like anybody who is over 25 in crypto is an unk. I just turned 29. I know once I hit 30, I'm definitely unk status. So I don't know, man. It is what it is. We call it wisdom, call it maturity, but we are unk status.
Amen. Sure. I mean, I'm happy for it. I've been very blessed to have had the opportunities that I had and have been able to kind of navigate this space. And yeah, happy to share more about it.
Beautiful. Maybe we can still say we're early, at least, right? We're early, but that means we're also old. So can you give us a little bit of background on like how you ended up in Web3 to begin with?
Yeah, definitely. So I didn't really have any background or understanding of like personal investing or finance really anything like that. I focused on marketing in undergrad and took a sales job with Nestle as a part of their like sales development program out of undergrad. And then that job I realized wasn't the right gig for me. I was basically spending all my time at Walmart selling to Walmart stores. So I left that and I ended up working in the nonprofit sector. And I worked for 5 years at a nonprofit in Chicago that helped homeless people get employment. And I still was doing sales and still building relationships, but finding a lot more meaningful work. And I met my now wife, then girlfriend in Chicago, and we decided to leave Chicago together and join the Peace Corps. And so we were serving as economic development volunteers, working with local entrepreneurs in Costa Rica. And kind of going in, we both had some work experience. And a lot of people in the Peace Corps kind of go in straight out of undergrad. And so with more experience, we kind of like were more intentional about what we were doing. So going down there, we did a lot of research and we knew that there'd be times where we'd be really busy, like helping build. We built up an ecotourism collective and worked with a lot of different businesses to build that up. But then we knew there'd also be times where we'd have a lot of downtime and free time. And so with that, I kind of made goals to explore what about personal finance. And from there, I kind of went down what was Wall Street Bets, I think pre-Wall Street Bets, but basically Reddit rabbit holes on investing, and joined some Slack channels. And then from there kind of got connected into crypto, and it was kind of all history from there. I kind of took the Web3 pill and never looked back. That was 2017. And the first role I took in crypto was actually built out the community for Salt lending, which is one of the original lending protocols back in the day.
Okay, beautiful. And how did you end up with Core DAO?
Yeah, so really kind of all started from doing community and kind of growth and community mobilizing at Salt. And from there, I kind of continued to build up my skill set and eventually started my own PR and marketing agency in crypto, and took on clients like Metal Pay and Salt and Mind AI and several others, kind of doing content and promotions and helping them connected to exchanges and spaces like this one, and kind of built up a client base and understood kind of how to effectively help projects grow their presence and their mind share and get better at communicating. And then from there, I've kind of just had different roles in crypto related to business development or marketing or community growth or retail engagement. And so that's kind of what led me to Core, because Core was really looking to build out the retail side and the trading side and the ecosystem side at Core. And that's kind of where I've really built out my specialty and expertise. We have another person on the marketing team that leads marketing at Core that focuses on the institutional side. And I'm more a pure DGen and belong with the DGens in the trenches.
Man, that's where I belong too. So I definitely relate. I love being, chronically online, living in TG, seeing what the latest meta is, what the latest meme is. So I definitely feel you. We say we're early. We talk all the time about how, mass adoption isn't here yet. Obviously, we're getting closer every single day with governments and institutions, taking part in crypto. But the group of individuals who actually work and have experience in full-time roles in crypto is even smaller. So like you have a unique opportunity, and you've had the unique opportunity to work for different teams, get a bunch of experience, add value. Are there any milestones that you're especially proud of that you've accomplished since getting involved in crypto?
Yeah, definitely. Well, actually, 2017, like when I said I was getting involved, one project that I invested in really early on was, like you mentioned, Sentinel P2P. And I supported that project just as a community member and kind of as someone that was really active and engaging with the founders a lot, but more just like a supporter. And then as I was doing business school and as I was finishing out my MBA, I was really in touch with the founder, and they were on hard times and kind of looking to continue to build out the network, but were really in a rough place. They had basically burned through their cash reserves. They didn't really have any token reserves. And so there wasn't really capital to continue to keep the project running. But I always thought that this is kind of before DePIN was even coined as a term, but I always believed that like crypto and especially blockchain networks are uniquely positioned for protocols like DePIN. And we had built out like a small but emerging kind of base of people that were offering bandwidth from their. So Sentinel is a decentralized bandwidth protocol where you can offer your home bandwidth to this network, and then people can route their traffic through your IP address. So essentially a decentralized VPN, which is much more robust, and that you're actually getting like peer-to-peer VPN versus getting things, potentially captured in a honeypot and with some of the centralized VPN providers. So I thought it was a really unique project. I was a big supporter. I had invested pretty significantly as well. And as I was finishing business school, I was talking to the founder, and he's like, look, man, we need to continue to grow this thing, but we're at a tough place. So I said, well, let me figure out how I can get my hands on, and let's kind of explore what we could do to build the future for Sentinel. And I took over as the CEO of the development company, and I built out the team. I built out the legal compliance. They weren't even kind of officially structured correctly. And then we helped scale out the protocol. And so when I took it over, there were maybe 2,000 people around the world that were using the dApps. And we built out a much better like front end and a much better application. And we scaled the both supply side and demand side to the point that we had 500,000 people around the world using the applications and using it in really interesting ways where they couldn't actually use centralized VPNs because of restrictions or because of people in like wartime and being able to disseminate information. So it was really cool. And to be able to build out a team, see a vision, and the whole process of bringing a protocol to life and getting actual usage was really rewarding. And that was kind of all of 2019 and 2020 for me.
Yeah, I could definitely see how that would be a milestone that you look back on and are like especially proud of. It seems to be a recurring theme on this show when we have guests on. They mention that oftentimes they started with a certain team or multiple teams as like a genuine fan and community member, and supporter of what they're doing, and then they ended up in a more concrete role, right? What advice would you have for people? I think it ties in very well with like your story, what you just shared, but what advice would you have for people listening who are looking to get their career started, get their foot in the door in a Web3 job?
I mean, Gambler, I couldn't agree more. It's not just kind of like in theory; it's in actuality. So be loud, be proud, build your own voice, and then if there's technology or there's protocols that interest you, ask how you can get involved and start like before you ask for permission, start contributing. Get active and engaged in the Discord. Start putting content out. Start inviting your friends. If there's some type of like farming campaign, get others involved and refer people. Showcase why it's actually interesting or different from other things that are like kind of a lot of other things that are just maybe copycats or trying to do something but aren't taking a novel approach. Um, and that's really kind of how I built my career, and those are the types of people I want to work with. We just brought on someone at Core that's now leading ecosystem marketing, Aurora, and she actually was someone that I hired initially at Sentinel, and that was 4 or 5 years prior. And the reason I hired her at Sentinel is because she was running this Twitter account, Sentinel Croatia, and she was just slaying. She was putting out like banger content, promoting the net new kind of adoption, feature, like focusing on features that actually were important or significant to her. And the Sentinel Croatia account just kept putting out some of the best content around Sentinel. And then I was at the Cosmoverse conference, and I'm like, yo, I need to figure out who this Sentinel Croatia person is. And I met her and was just immediately knew that like this is someone I wanted to work with. And then brought her on to Exidio, the development company for Sentinel, over the course of time. And that worked really well. Herman and I have had a really great working relationship. And then when I ended up working as a co-founder at Say Network, I brought her on to do ecosystem marketing at Say. So I brought her along with me. And now as she's finished up her time at Say, she's now with us at Core. So you find people that are willing to put themselves out there and that are, being authentic and putting out a real voice, that, pays wonders. And those are the types of people that not only are going to pave their own path professionally, but are also going to pave the path for opportunities for themselves to help support multiple brands.
Yeah, it makes sense. Something else we talked about often on the show is I feel like in the world, effort and authenticity gets rewarded. But I think here in Web3, partly because we're so Twitter and X and content centric, I think that that opportunity is actually exponential. And I think that if you are someone that is willing to get your hands dirty and contribute and get started, exactly like you're talking about, I think your actions will be rewarded that much more in a space like Web3 and in this industry, which is why I'm such a big fan. So now you mentioned be loud, be proud. You got the attention, and now you've got an interview coming up. What are some tips that people can keep in mind before, during, and maybe after the interview to make sure that it's successful?
Oh, that's a good question. Well, I think that I would focus more on the before the interview. If you are like putting out content, or if you are already contributing, or are you involved in a DAO, or you are a part of an NFT community, or you are, in the trenches in the Discords, like engaging with communities, that's the experience that like the hiring company wants to know about. So be sure about like like, I guess, take time to be inquisitive about what have you done and why is it interesting or what have you learned from it. I think sometimes we just take for granted that like we're kind of going through motions or this is what other people do. But are you actually like, how has it changed you or how has it altered your perspective? Or what are the like maybe hard skills that you're not even kind of giving yourself acknowledging that you are learning? So be really more introspective on why is it that you're like doing the things you're doing, whether like in the communities that you're a part of, and like what is it that you're getting out of them. And that's actually super valuable because now that you come into an interview, you can give insight to the company from a firsthand perspective from a community member that they might not otherwise have that perspective. They might be too in the weeds of their day-to-day operations. They don't actually understand what is effective in mobilizing community members, what is actually getting them excited, what moves the needle, and then how are you individually contributing. So I think before you kind of focus on the interview itself and how to prep for it, you really want to know what is your role, how are you unique, and like if you are bringing your authentic self, like what what elements of yourself um, are you bringing? What are the skills that you've learned, and why is it interesting for you, or why would it be interesting for someone if you bumped into them on the street and talked about it? Those are going to be the exact same things you're going to want to discuss and share in an interview. So um, as you kind of understand your skill set and how you're contributing, then I think then it's actually comes down to the interview prep itself, understanding the team that you're interviewing with, understanding the roles of the people that you're going to be speaking to, understanding the dynamics of the company, and then how you can best prep for the interview.
No, that's so real because like if you can't articulate where you're gonna add value, there's absolutely no way that the person interviewing you, who is also probably interviewing, most likely interviewing other people as well, has other stuff on their plate, is gonna be able to solve that riddle, right? So we got to put it on ourselves, like you just said, to be self-aware, understand where you add value, where have you added value, where can you show evidence of contributing to a team and a mission and a vision. And then, like you said, the next step is understanding how you can specifically apply that to the team that you're going for, right? How can you make
Yeah, 100%, and definitely agree on like what skills you have, how you can add value, but also just like what do you love? Like what do you like? Why are you even doing these things on a daily basis? Like if you are airdrop farming and you don't know the shit about the names of the protocols or what they're doing that you're airdrop farming for, and you're kind of going through motions to like collect tokens, like more power to you, but that's not going to resonate in an interview. So you need to understand yeah, be introspective. Why are you here? What are you doing? What's interesting? What motivates you every day? That's what's going to come through as authentic in the interview. So I think that's definitely more important than focusing on like the interview prep itself.
Yeah, well said. Absolutely appreciate you calling that out of like, what is it that you love? What are you passionate about? Because oftentimes they're connected, right? It's like where you add value and what do you love? But it's definitely worth considering that part directly, right? Because you can get a lot of uh, insight, insight there, right? That can help you move forward and perform that much better in the interview.
Yeah, and
Now,
and if
go
if
ahead.
they overlap, then you're like set, right? If it's something that you love and you're gonna do, even if like you're not gonna get a big salary for it, and you actually care and you like put intention behind what you're doing, and you can articulate that, like you said, you just show up in an interview and it's just natural from there.
Yeah, and then again, that note of like opportunity in Web3, it's like once you do get your foot in the door, it's so like startup centric and startup heavy, it feels like in this space with the teams that you can often show your worth, show your passion, and move up and contribute that much more. And again, it just goes back to that opportunity being significant in this space if you're really willing to work for it, right? As always. So now you got their attention, you got the interview. There's an offer on the table. It's time to negotiate. This is a part a lot of people don't talk about. A lot of people don't even consider this. What are some tips to making sure that you get an appropriate or win-win or your worth when you're negotiating your offer with the team?
Yeah, this is a great question. And honestly, I think that like most people, um, especially like more junior, struggle with this. I don't think that like I probably negotiated for as much as I should for myself early on, and then you understand kind of the how you can bring what value and specifically what you're able to like, what impact you'll be able to make, and then from there you can think about what's fair at like considering the upside that you're bringing to the project. Um, so my best advice, honestly, would be to just network with a lot of other people that are either working in similar companies or in the same like sector, or in similar roles, and try to just ask for people's time for 15 minutes, talk about what like their role, what they've learned, and kind of like what is like effective or fair compensation based on kind of their contributions, and then kind of use that as an understanding and a baseline, and then you need to kind of calibrate it to, you know, uh, your kind of ability to make an impact and kind of like your level of kind of junior or senior position within the company. But I cannot stress enough that like, let's just say you're doing really good individual contributions or you're involved in a community and you're getting recognized there. Um, that isn't enough. You still should be engaging and networking with people across the industry, um, so that you have a broader sense of what's happening
This space was downloaded via spacesdown.com. Visit to download your spaces today.
across the industry, and then you have the opportunities like that to hit people up and have a conversation on what is kind of the lay of the land for compensation. And I think the one thing to consider is, the role might have like a base salary, potentially paid out in fiat, and then it might have more incentives based in the native token or in equity. And I personally, if you're really bullish on the company and you actually believe in what you're doing, it's an easy way to sell yourself, saying, "Look, I'm in to win. I want the team to win. I want the protocol to win." And I think it's easier sometimes to negotiate on the equity or the token side than the base salary. And the upside is bigger there as well, as long as you believe that long term that you're going to succeed and the project's going to succeed. I think that's the kind of area where I've always kind of focused on as far as the negotiation side is more on the equity and token side.
Yeah, and like you said, a big part of that is actually believing in the team that you're going with, right? It's like that might be a good little barometer to kind of check yourself of like if you really believe in, and it's okay either way, but just understand that about yourself.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
also if you believe in yourself too, like, can you come in and make an actual impact and like impact the bottom line or success, like the potential for success for the project? And if you're like, look, I'm gonna bet on myself, we already have good momentum, and like you bring me into the fire and like we're gonna fucking make some waves, then I think that just shows it's a vote in confidence in yourself as well.
Yeah, well said. So it's like come prepared as always, come educated, and of course in Web3 there's nuance, right? It's not as easy to just go up on LinkedIn or Indeed and get a comp range. So like you mentioned, you can reach out, ask around. Thankfully we're on Twitter. A lot of people have DMs open, see what your contacts are saying, get some kind of an idea. And then also I really appreciated your point on like having a big picture view and flexibility and being like, okay, where can I get more out of this package that isn't may not necessarily be the number on the bottom line, but it's benefits, it's insurance, it's getting to work from home, it's getting to travel for events, it's whatever it is. And then of course understanding what your needs are and your wants are going into that so that you can of course uh, negotiate
Yeah. And
appropriately.
I guess also like a perspective I have too is like definitely advocate for yourself, but like you want to think about you're trying to come in showcasing that the value you're going to contribute and exactly how that'll impact the organization. But playing super hardball or like kind of like being a dick about like a certain like um income level, I think is not a winning strategy. Um, it's one thing if like you have two or three offers and you're actually interested in multiple like companies and one is like way out of line with the others, then I think you can have like a more of an honest conversation. But um, I've seen people that have lost jobs because they've literally like hard negotiated themselves out of the offer. Um, so in general, I think that like vibes matter a lot. And if you're bringing your authentic self, then you also want to carry that through, the job interview, through the job offer and onboarding.
Yeah, absolutely. Well said. Again, look at the big picture, right? Long term. Delayed gratification tends to be beneficial over instant gratification, oftentimes. Again, especially in this space. We do have theme of the week. Every single week, we have 2 guests on Wednesday and Fridays, and we do a theme related to getting hired, making your way through the interview process, and we're going to have a different theme every single week. The theme of this week is Web 2 versus Web 3. So I want to ask a few questions regarding the nuances, the differences between getting hired, working in traditional Web 2 compared to Web 3. Where is it similar? Where is it different? Deedle, getting started, like, what are some ways to get the conversation started with a potential employer in Web3?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. It's a very different ball game. What we were talking about before, Coca-Cola, there's not like a telegram or like a Discord that you can join to go like talk about Coca-Cola, and like there's no active community. So it's a very different way to engage with these protocols. So that being said, like bringing like participating, engaging, showing how you find that maybe there's an opportunity to look at something from a different perspective. Just being vocal and like engaging with the communities or the protocols that you're interested in is how you want to build out your experience and your credibility. So you basically, some people in Web 2 that's never come to Web 3 might just consider that work. But if it's something you actually care about, then you're not doing it just to get paid. But you basically are kind of working for free, right? You're getting involved in these communities, you're contributing, you're helping share ideas, you're maybe contributing like on referrals or interest, like partners that might make sense. So doing that kind of work without asking to get paid is critical in Web 3. In Web 2, you might focus on your past experience and your resume, and then how you can contribute to a new company. But in Web 3, before I would engage with the company, I would want to already be active in the community and showing my worth.
Yeah, well said. And again, it's like you get to, right? It's like you're saying, it's like you should and you have to. That's one way to look at it if you want to create these opportunities for yourself. But it's also like you said, like Coca-Cola doesn't have that same culture where you can engage on their X or jump in the Discord, join the community, and show your value. Here, you oftentimes can and you get to, right? So when you kind of start looking at it like that, it's like, find what you're passionate about and show that you're passionate about it, right? In one way or another. DMs. I want to
Well,
ask.
I just want to
Go ahead.
just kind of double down on that. I completely agree, Gambler. And actually, that's what makes I think that's a big issue in Web 2. You see those memes like must have 3 years experience before like you're qualified, and then you're like, I don't have experience, and then they're like, well, how do I get 3 years experience to be qualified? And like there's a really hard start problem that is an issue in like traditional industries. And that's like such a cool blue ocean space in crypto, is that you can start building your experience just by taking initiative individually. So it definitely is a cool opportunity that like people aren't provided elsewhere. And another thing that's really unique about Web3 is that, there's this culture of being able to be pseudonymous. And so people from all over the world, from all different walks of life, regardless of their background, regardless of their religious views, are able to contribute. And I think that that's really beautiful, and I think pretty unique about Web3. So it really truly is permissionless and globally accessible. So the only thing that's holding you back from, finding opportunities and contributing is yourself.
Man, ain't that the truth? Especially in this age of AI now, right? Like we especially do not, and crypto being so like hand in hand, not the same thing with AI. And like you really have no excuse. ChatGPT, Grok, Gemini, marketers as well, right? We have all these tools to make videos and animations, and there's really no excuse. I love the way you just put it. It's like the only thing standing in your way is you. As cliche as that is, it's so true. Uh, on a similar note, what are some tips to sending a successful DM, a DM that actually gets a reply back?
That's a good question. I think people in crypto are pretty direct. So I would cut to the chase within the first like 2 sentences about like what interests you or why you're reaching out. And I would keep it to like 5 sentences max or something. You don't want to write a bunch of paragraphs. You want to engage in a casual conversation, get someone's attention, and then let the conversation kind of organically take it from there. But yeah, that's a good question. I've had to do a lot of cold DMs. And yeah, I definitely have found that also like don't send a cold DM that is standard. Like it should be specific to that individual person, that's relevant to that individual person. If you're hitting up on DM on Twitter, then you have a bunch of information about them based on reading their timeline. So hit something like, I would say the 2 things that you want to touch on in a DM is like what you're actually wanting to engage about, what specifically. So you want to be direct in the onset, but also one thing that's like a personal anecdote to them and why you're reaching out to them specifically or why you're interested in them. I think if you do that, you're giving yourself the best chance. And then another thing you should do is follow up like a week or so later. If you don't get a reply back, oftentimes I found that like people reply to me on the second or third time that I hit them up.
Oh man, follow-ups, bro. Once you learn the magic of follow-ups, like some people never follow up ever. Like you just never follow up. You reach out once, and that was my attempt, and that's awesome. That's not nothing, but the power of following up and getting those conversion numbers that much higher just by sending that second and third, with respect to time, not all back to back to back, but like a normal human. That's great advice. And then also like what you just said, it's like you we have this opportunity here of like turning a cold DM into a somewhat warmer, at least warmer, maybe not warm, but warmer DM, right? By going over the timeline, again, being genuinely interested about why you're reaching out to this individual, and then making that clear in your communication, right? And brief to the point, like you said. What are some misconceptions that people might have about working in Web3?
Yeah, we'll go back into the DMs and misconceptions. Actually, I think there's a misconception that if you DM someone, it's like you're shooting something into the void and you're never going to get an engagement back. I've been able to engage with so many people in crypto that I didn't think would ever reply to me. So people are accessible if you're genuine and you have something interesting that like, you want to engage them for specific reasons. So I would also say never always optimize on the assumption that you are going to get a reply and make the effort to hit the DM, like message someone, and versus having any type of hesitancy or holding yourself back. I think that's actually one of the bigger misconceptions is that like you can't actually engage with people or that there's like some type of like cabal or there's some type of like silos and you're not a part of it. Don't be afraid again to put yourself out there in the public timeline, but also to put yourself out there in the DMs as well.
Well said. Let's say you've got a friend who just got an offer. They've been contributing to a community that they've been showing their worth. They're genuinely passionate. The community has funding and reaches out to them and gives them an offer to join the team. And they reach out to you and they say, "Hey, Deedle, I got this offer. I'm considering whether or not to accept it." Like, what advice would you give them, or what things would you tell them to consider before putting their name on the dotted line?
Again, another great question. I think before talking about the offer and the details and the role, or like the the nuts and bolts, I would be like, why do you want to work there? Like, I think that's the first thing is actually like, are they passionate? Do they really care? Is this something that like, do they really believe in the protocol? What's their connection or belief in the founder and the founder's vision? Those are the things that I would focus on. If they're like, dude, I've been following this protocol for 2 years now, or whatever, a year now. I've engaged with the founder a bunch. I actually use the product. Like, this is an amazing, a dream come true opportunity. Then like, GG. Like, you don't even need to worry that much about like comp. Like, you're going to be able to prove yourself and your worth when you're there. You're going to have more opportunities as you build value. So I would say before like kind of thinking about, is this a good fit and how to negotiate, it's like, do you really give a shit about this, or is it like a job? And if you really do give a shit and you can articulate why, then you're good. I feel like you're setting yourself up for a ton of success. And then from there, you can get into the specifics of, okay, well, is this the role, the exact role that your skill set leads to? Or maybe is there a different role that like might work internally that you could contribute to? Or can you do this other role while also doing side quests within the company to show value, even if it's not within your job duties? Those are the types of specific kinds of things I would look in, like, talk to them about after really kind of vetting, is this is something like a really, passionate opportunity for them. But yeah, and then I think that you really do want to understand exactly what your skill set is and how you're going to be able to contribute, in the first 30, 60 days, and then how you can contribute 90, 180 days later as you build up your skill sets and kind of also understand the lay of the land of the organization.
Great advice, Deedle. Appreciate that. We're going to be going for maybe 5 to 10 more minutes. I got a couple more questions. Love to see the space filled up with a bunch of friendly faces. Shout out Mr. Sherpa, Scott Fu, Min, Apex. Shout out Thomas, Diggy, Sunwind Moon, Maresha, Louie. Anybody listening to the recording, anybody on YouTube or Spotify, we appreciate you. This is Cup of Joe with W3JOE featuring Mr. Deedle. We are here every Wednesday, every Friday at 12:30 p.m. Eastern. And again, we'll be going for a few more minutes. So if anybody wants to jump up, join the conversation, now would be the time to do so. Otherwise, we love having you in the listeners as well. Deedle, again, you have the unique opportunity of working for a legitimate, funded team with a clear vision, clear community, moving forward, presence everywhere. We love Core DAO. What are some traits, qualities that Core DAO looks for in a potential new hire?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think we look for initiative. So Core DAO, like, sure, it's legit funded real project, but another thing that I think separates Core DAO from a lot of projects is it's just a bunch of killers. The like bar is very high at Core, so you need to work your ass off. You need to like work smart and work hard, and that's the baseline expectation for everyone at Core. And if you're doing your job because like those are the like details on your job description and kind of like dotting the I's and crossing the T's, like, you're not going to make it at Core. Core is definitely a culture of like high achievers, that people that take initiative. So that would be definitely the first thing we're looking for in a candidate, is someone that like has gone above and beyond in their previous roles, or like is doing things in Web3 that they're genuinely interested in outside of their job. Because there's a lot of Web3 natives at Core. And people that are just passionate about what they do. Those are the things that I think like would separate like a good candidate from an average candidate. And that would be regardless if it's someone in operations or doing like finance, or, to growth, to engineering, to DevRel, to BD. Those would be the kind of really common traits. And it all stems, I think crypto and startups in general are heavily influenced by the founders, right? And Rich is one of the leaders and kind of like a true leader within the Core ecosystem. And this tone he sets is kind of set by everyone else around him. And so I've known Rich previously, and that also, like we talked about, knowing the founder and having a connection, I think makes a big impact. So I've always known Rich. I've always respected him as a professional in the space. I was a buddy of his. And when I had the opportunity to work alongside him and be in the trenches, it's a no question. So that's definitely the culture at Core, is like a work smart, but also work hard, and like have a big vision and not be afraid of like going after it. And if you're like, yeah, that would be the types of people that are going to vibe well within our culture.
I love that. Like you said, it starts at the top, right? I've had the pleasure of connecting with Rich on one call before. He's a great dude, and I've checked out a bunch of you guys' content on YouTube. I mean, you guys are really crushing it everywhere. Marketing team, Dylan. I met Dylan. He's great. We had him on the show last week. love what you guys are doing in Core, and love what you just touched on of like working smart and hard. Again, it goes with that note of like working in Web3 doesn't mean working from home and sitting on your couch and shit posting all day, right? You're still gonna work hard, but if you're passionate about it and if this is a place you want to be, which isn't the case for everybody, but if that is the case, your rewards will be exponential, right? And that's what it sounds like you guys are building over in Core, working smart, working hard, all towards that vision. We're almost ready to wind down here. I have one more question, and it kind of just is a top of mind covering a lot of what we covered already. I want to ask in like 15 to 30 seconds, like what is like your hot sip tip, top of mind advice for someone listening right now who either wants to get started working in Web3 or advance their career further in Web3?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's like A, like we talked about, being authentic, and B, being in the trenches. Like, you should be using these products. You should be understanding what differentiates them. You should understand like why you like a product or not. Just because you've used it doesn't mean it's necessarily a good product. So, if perps on a decentralized exchange is too esoteric, or like looping a lending strategy is not your vibe, like that's fine. But like know what are the things within crypto that have interest you and that you're hands-on with. And then you'll be able to speak to that in an interview. But if you're not actually using these products and you're not a Web3 native, you might be a good, accountant in any other industry, but you're going to have a hard time competing with someone that has the same skill set as you, but actually cares about crypto and actually understands why these products are valuable. So I would say be authentic, start putting yourself out on the timeline, and also, practice what you preach and actually use these things if you care about them.
Be authentic and actually participate, right? I mean, it's simple, but you got to actually do it. You got to actually do it. You got to actually want it. And showing up to spaces like this is super important. And IRL events are a great way to stay connected. Again, we got ETH New York coming up next week with a couple of our side events pinned up top. How important, I guess I'll sneak one more question in, Deedle. How important is it to be visible in order to create opportunity for yourself in this space, whether that's on the timeline or at IRL events or any other way?
I mean, incredibly. Like even though like sure you're hearing about crypto from Trump talking about it, you're hearing it like in the news. It's a very small industry, and your reputation is going to carry with you wherever you go. So building that connection, building that network is more paramount than it is in almost any other industry. So definitely putting yourself out there online, but yeah, completely putting yourself out there IRL. And even like regardless of where you live, there are events happening around the world. So make sure to put yourself out there and like connect with people. You never know what the opportunity or the alignment may be until you actually connect.
Yeah, and like you said, there's events all over the world, and then we're also digital, right? So if you want to jump up on Twitter and join a space like this or a live stream or something, jump on stage. You can. I've made tons of connections that way, and you never know what it could lead to. So something to consider. But that is all I've got on my end, Deedle. It's been really great chopping it up with you. Thank you so much for the time. I'll throw it back to you for any final thoughts before we get up out of here.
No, Gambler and Web3 Job Ops, just appreciate it. Friday chopping it up, it's always a good time. And yeah, one thing I would say is, grind and be yourself online, but don't forget to touch grass. I'm going to get out to the beach at some point this weekend. The digital vortex can be really powerful, and the AI algorithms are only getting stronger. Don't get too sucked into doom scrolling and forget to actually live your life. So yeah.
That's a great way to end it, bro. By the way, are you in PR as well or no?
Yeah, man, we should link up.
Easy. All right, beautiful. I just threw you a follow. Grateful we can connect. Make sure if you're listening, throw Deedle a follow. Check him out. Check out Core DAO. And once again, we are here every Wednesday, every Friday, 9:30 a.m. Pacific, 12:30 p.m. Eastern. Powered by none other than Web3 Job Ops and Events. We appreciate you coming out. We're rooting for you. And until next time, we will see you very soon.